Yeah, so NetSuite, forget the Oracle bit for a moment, started 20 years ago by an entrepreneur who had started several companies and actually had failures as well. And one of the things he was thinking about was it's really difficult when you have run a startup or a scale-up to keep control of what's going on. Everything's changing so fast, you have very little resources. Keeping an eye on things like cash flow, on customer churn, on product output, or whatever the KPIs are that you have is tough. And big companies have huge systems like SAP. You can have that to run your whole company, but as a small startup or a scale-up, you can't get a system to run your company. So typically you just have an accounting system, and you might have a CRM system, and in between that you've probably got spreadsheets and sticky notes and manual processes and chaos. So he decided to create an end-to-end system, a bit like an SAP or an Oracle system, but for startups and scale-ups. And that's what he did. But 20 years ago, a guy called Larry Ellison, who funded him, the guy who founded Oracle, said to him, you know what, this is 1998, people aren't going to want to keep downloading software from CDs. So why don't you put it online? And he also said, and why not also create web shops, because people are going to want to buy stuff and sell stuff online. So he went ahead and did that, and he created a system that is literally end-to-end from your accounting and all your back office through sales and CRM and right up to e-commerce, websites, point of sale, a lot. Single system, real time. The first cloud, it wasn't even called cloud then, but actually the first cloud company. And in fact, NetSuite over the years have pioneered everything around SaaS. So the whole subscription model, the way that we upgrade all of our customers, 40,000 customers, all have the same version, and we upgrade them immediately every day when we release any software, or twice a year when we put out our big releases. That was all pioneered by NetSuite. We were acquired by Oracle about 18 months ago, and we are now actually $1 billion startup. We are growing at 100% a year thanks to investment from NetSuite. Hence, we've just opened 5 offices across Germany, and you'll see a lot more about us. That's kind of all, I'm giving you that background because that's what gives us the right, if you like, to stand here and talk a bit about cloud, because we know about it. And I just want to talk a bit about what we've experienced and what we've seen from our customers and other companies. All of the big innovators today are cloud companies in one way or another. LinkedIn is using the cloud to aggregate initially CVs. That's how they started off, get people's resumes, bring them together and make them available to the masses. Now they are, a networking forum. And of course, there are lots of other social networking forums like them that would only exist with the cloud. Airbnb is disrupting the whole hotel market. They don't, famously, they don't own anything. They don't own property. They just bring people together. And they are able to scale at incredible rates thanks to the cloud. Deliveroo is a favorite of mine. You've probably seen the guys in the green with the big boxes on the back, pedaling around Berlin. They're one of our favorite customers. So they started in London. They're a classic startup scale-up story. They spent 18 months perfecting the idea, and the idea is really simple. Let's do home delivery from restaurants that don't have a delivery service. And they perfected that for 18 months. They developed an app and the technology around that. They trialed it and tweaked it and improved it. And after 18 months, they thought, right, we're going to take this to market. I mean, really take it to market. Because at the end of the day, it's an idea that anyone can copy. And they do. You've seen, there's guys in pink that are around here. I don't know what the company's called. All sorts. So to do it, they wanted to do it fast. So in 18 months, they went from London to 12 countries, 50 cities. And the only way they could do that and grow the company at that rate and manage it and manage the operations on an incredible scale was using cloud. And they were using NetSuite as a kind of back office system that allowed them to grow at that rate. Since then, they've doubled again. So they've gone to, they've actually stayed in 12 countries, but they've gone to another 50 cities. There are 100 cities and growing. Again, it's a food delivery company, but actually it's a cloud company. It's a technology company. If you talk to them, they actually talk about themselves as a technology company. Lyft, I use Lyft. That's particularly known in the US. Uber is another example, although not a good one in Germany, I know. But even My Taxi, all of these companies, all these networks are only enabled and given scale because of cloud. A company you might not have heard of but a really nice German software company called Blue Yonder, who's another one we work with. They are, has anyone heard of Blue Yonder? Oh, a couple, brilliant. They're incredible guys. They came out of CERN, actually, brains the size of a planet, and they do big data analytics. So they work with retailers, and what they do is they bring together not just all of the customer data that everybody, retailers have. They typically know kind of what's going on in their store. They bring in all of the data from outside of the company. They bring in stuff from social media, information on events that are going on, what's been on TV, what trends are happening in the local town, around that store, or around that product or whatever. So all of this unstructured data they can bring in thanks to the cloud. They gather it as massive amounts of data, they bring it in, and then they tell the retailer not just things like, what product to put out today. Hey, it's going to be sunny, let's sell ice creams. It's going to rain, let's sell umbrellas. They actually allow them to do things like dynamic pricing. So change the pricing either through the week, through the day, in response to something being on TV, they might put the price up, all sorts of stuff. Incredible stuff that allows retailers just to tweak pricing to allow them to get the best returns and increase margins. And in fact, the one supermarket in the UK that started using that is the only major supermarket that's actually growing its margins today, only enabled by the cloud. So we have a number of lessons that we think we've learned from our customers about any company. It doesn't matter what business you're in, what you need to do and why you need to use cloud. Number one is simple. As a startup, as a scale-up, you've got to be adaptable to change. Whatever your business model, and you might have a very radical new business model, you're probably going to have to change it. And if you're an established company, you're going to have to change your business model in response to trends, things your customer, feedback, complaints, anything. You need to be prepared to change the business model. And that's quite a fundamental thing for a company, because you build up processes around a business model, and then you need to change because you're entering new markets. You need new ways of pricing. You might want to move to subscription pricing rather than selling a product. You want to bring in new products, new services. You want to bundle products with services. You want to sell products as services. You want to sell services as products. All of this is happening all the time, and you need to be able to respond to that. Otherwise, your competition is going to outflank you. And you also have new channels to market and different ways of distributing your product. All of those create massive challenges, actually, for your back office, the way you run the company, the way you structure it. And only if you've got cloud-based systems are you going to have the flexibility to respond fast enough to move into those new markets or respond to those new trends. In particular, with cloud, customization isn't a dirty word. Everybody knows about the old stories, I'm sure, of SAP and so on, where people have this fantastic flexible system, and it's like liquid concrete. It's incredibly flexible until you put it in, then it stops, and then you're fixed hard. And if you do customization, you then can't upgrade the system. But with new cloud-based systems, you can customize, so you can tweak those systems to fit your business, to fit maybe a business model nobody's thought of. If you're inventive and you've come up with something, you should be able to change your systems to fit the way you want to work, but still have that software, still have that capability to upgrade and keep getting supported going forward. So with cloud, typically, you'll find that you've got a cloud platform that allows you to develop those customizations alongside the core software you're using. Everybody's on the same version. It will upgrade automatically. You shouldn't have to worry about upgrading software or security issues or any of these sort of things. Everything should move forward at the same rate. It's the beauty of cloud. The other one's the power of data aggregation. So every company now has huge amounts of data, or has the capacity, the capability to bring data together. And all of these companies I mentioned there earlier are all about data aggregation. Their business models are being developed and enhanced because of the amount of data they can bring together and use and draw conclusions from. And of course, Blue Yonder, as I said, their whole business is built on that ability to aggregate. The other big one today for startups is think global, deliver local. So, you have that idea like Deliveroo, like any number of companies. Even Katarina from Burlo is looking at, how they sell how they collaborate with international brewers. She was over in Scotland a few weeks ago, working with a big brewery there, Brewdog, and even small startups that are just in Berlin or just in one city actually, typically are selling internationally and are looking at opportunities to expand internationally. And if you've got cloud-based systems, that's not going to be an issue for you. You're not going to have to wait for IT to roll out a new system, or wait 6 months before they can switch on, the US system or whatever. You've got all of this sort of stuff at your fingertips. Most important as you scale up is that startup state of mind. It's typically, everybody knows this, digital disruption is everywhere at the moment. Every company, however old or young or new, is being disrupted. 52% of the Fortune 500 companies in the US have gone out of business since the year 2000, mostly because of digital disruption. Huge companies just recently like Toys R Us that everybody thought were sort of massive and global and too big to fail have just disappeared because they got digital wrong. What we see is that small companies, startups and scale-ups need to act like big companies. They need to actually, you need to look as if you're a big global company. You need to be able to sell and distribute and deliver and service your products or services anywhere in the world. And at the same time, big companies actually need to act small. So the big companies that have been around for years, if they don't want to become the next Toys R Us, have to respond and be agile and act like startups. And so we're seeing companies at both ends of the system, at both ends of the scale, small and big, moving to cloud to allow them to be able to respond quickly, to be able to spin off new companies, launch new products, enter new markets, and just respond to whatever trends they see, which is why we always say that cloud, our belief is that cloud is the first and last system you'll ever need. And we get challenged on that to say, what's the next technology coming along? And of course, there will be new technologies coming along, but actually cloud, it's hard to see beyond, it's hard to see companies coming back and bringing systems in-house after you've gone to cloud. I've got a few examples of other companies that we work with that you may not have heard of, or you may have. Anyone heard of Gymshark here? No. So if you've heard of Gymshark, they're very big in Germany, huge in Germany, but you need to be between about 16 and 26. They're incredibly targeted in the way they do marketing. It's all through Instagram. It's all using influencers. They do high fashion gym wear. It's not the sort of stuff I know about, I must admit. I only know about them because they're a customer. But they get all of these, guys and girls who work out in gyms and like to sit around looking well muscled and fit to wear their gear and put pictures onto Instagram and onto Facebook and YouTube and whatever. But very, very targeted in the way they sell. They are growing at an absolutely crazy rate. Last year, they were £40 million turnover, which is roughly 40 million euros, unfortunately, nowadays. This year, they've gone to 100 million in 1 year. They were running the system, and they'd been going for a couple of years, started 2013. 2015, they decided to do Black Friday, which is like, the American discounting day, shortly before Christmas. First time they'd ever discounted, and they got all prepared, and they thought, well, we're going to be smart about this because there'll probably be a lot of demand. So we'll open the discounts a couple of days before Black Friday. They got everything ready, and they got all their stock ready and their systems and their people on the phones and everything. And the systems were open for 10 minutes, and the whole thing crashed. And it crashed for 3 days. They completely missed Black Friday because they were absolutely swamped by the demand. So, and it wasn't actually the fact that websites, everyone can scale a website. That's really easy, by the way. It's actually the back office. Is when the orders come through to your systems, what happens? And in fact, what happened was people were ordering 4 times and not paying at all. Some people were paying 4 times for the same thing. They couldn't link up the orders with the stock and everything, and it was a complete chaos. And at that point, they completely ripped out all of their systems, put them all in the cloud, and since then have been able to scale at any rate they need to. And the next Black Friday had enormous spikes in trade, but they managed to. to continue to do that. And they now distribute all over Europe, they distribute in the US and worldwide, all thanks to cloud. These sort of guys, you might have heard of Dollar Shave Club, another company, there's a number of these now, who just, it's an example of a company really bringing a disruptive business model, thanks to things like the cloud and the as-a-service model. So these guys sell shavers as a service. So I actually buy my shavers monthly, I pay a monthly fee, and they come through the door in the same way as you buy kind of Netflix or whatever. It's brilliant. I don't have to remember to do that. I also buy my dog food like that. Unfortunately, I don't buy my own food like that. I really ought to. And then finally, we were trying to scratch our heads and say there must be some sort of company that isn't really a cloud company that can't use cloud. Someone said, well, farming, really? Like farming cows? Surely not. And so we looked in our database of 40,000 customers we have, and sure enough, we have a cattle farmer in the Philippines who was actually linked up. He has sensors on each of his cows that are out in the fields, and those sensors send information up to satellite and into his cloud, into his ERP system, so that they can monitor the welfare and the position and age and everything, all the details they want on their cows. So even cattle farming now is becoming a cloud business. And that's kind of my pitch. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, David Turner.
Thank you.
So we still have time for a few questions. Are there some from the audience? Then just raise your hand, and we'll manage with the mic. If not, maybe a question to you. How scalable or easy scalable is your business? Because of course it's a software, but I suppose you also depend on service, and some companies maybe nowadays want to have them rather in Europe than in the US, for example. So how is it for you coming to Germany?
Yeah, interesting. So I said we're like a $1 billion startup at the moment because Oracle have come in and kind of pumped money into the NetSuite because everybody wants to be a cloud company today. So we're kind of growing like crazy. And yeah, so we entered Germany. We've opened 5 offices and put salespeople in there. But in terms of servicing, we can't scale that quick enough for the demand. So we're working with partners, lots of implementation partners. Everybody from kind of Deloitte and Capgemini and the big guys, but also right down to real specialist companies. So if there's any specialist, software implementers or anything in the business, in the hall, then we're interested in talking to you, but that's the only way we can.
And is that an interim solution that you want to, or you want to keep it that way?
No, we want to keep it that way because that actually gives us the local knowledge. So yes, we're a global software company, and the product is obviously fully fitted to each market, like the German market. But it's those sort of companies that have the specialist knowledge that understand specific industries or local regulations and all of that can help. So yeah, we want to keep that local knowledge.
Is that something, are you affected by the GDPR as well? I mean, it's a tiring topic. Countless nightmares.
Obviously we are, because we do marketing, but our system, because it includes CRM and customer data and everything, absolutely, yeah. So like all software companies, we've had to overhaul the software and mainly it's about including all the fields to allow you to know exactly, be able to prove exactly where data came from, so that when you as a user put somebody's data, a customer data or prospect data in the system, you can record exactly where it came from, so that when they challenge you and say, where did you get my data from, you've got the proof on the system. It's time-stamped and says, it came.
So that means if, like, I am a NetSuite customer, that's all been taken care of for me. So actually, I don't have to worry so much about it? Or?
Yes, but you've still got to have your processes right. So you've got to make sure you input the data right and all of that.
All right.
The weirdest thing on GDPR, sorry, side one, okay, is this thing about the right to be forgotten. Google has this as well. So if we have your data in our system and you say, I want you to forget us, so we can delete it. But if we delete it and then we get your data again, we don't know that you want it to be forgotten. How do we get around that? It's a big problem.
Good question, yes.
So you have to, well, anyway, it's an issue of debate.
You've been around for 20 years already with NetSuite, or NetSuite has been around for 20 years,
okay.
let's say it like that. So why did it take so long until you were able to come to Europe? Was it because you needed a big partner as Oracle, or?
Yeah, I mean, NetSuite's been international from very early on, but mostly through partners. So like in January last year, 18 months ago or so, we were just 300 people in the UK. and the rest of Europe was mainly serviced through partner, through channel distribution. Because of the resources of Oracle, which obviously, you know, big company, they've allowed us to open up offices right across Europe, in Scandinavia and Netherlands and Israel, and we're in Dubai and South Africa and everywhere. So yeah, it's just
All right,
resources.
thanks a lot.